Do genetics hold the lifter back in powerlifting and strength? I think that the answer is no, that they don't. There are a lot of lifters who are probably more experienced and better lifters than me who think and say that like genetics matter a lot. In my opinion, they don't very much. Um, a lot of the greatest lifters of all time had good genetics, but there are many really great lifters who didn't have good genetics, who I can think of. And Stan Efferding is a really good example. He had kind of like not an ideal structure. He was very skinny growing up. He didn't put on muscle easily. He didn't put on strength easily. But he set those records when he was in his like late 40s, you know? And there are other lifters. If you look at Ed Coan, if you look at World's Strongest Man, Eddie Hall, or some of the bodybuilders like Arnold or Jay Cutler, like many of them were really good genetically, and they look good genetically, and they had good genetics altogether. And the thing though is that it's not the genetics that made them, and there are other people who had arguably better genetics who didn't progress. Ultimately, genetics don't hold a person back because there's just other factors that will and determine whether they end up being a good lifter or not. It's like discipline and commitment and a bunch of other things. In the sport of powerlifting, there are lifters who got really good, who took it to a high level, who couldn't keep it, and maybe they got distracted because of just maybe they took too many drugs and then they had to come off and it was bad, or they weren't consistent, or maybe they had kids and they focused on family, or they worked too much, or they focused on other things, they made excuses, they got injured, all kinds of different things. The thing with genetics is that maybe it can get you there faster a lot of the time, but it doesn't necessarily give you anything that you can't otherwise get. You know, maybe it'll take you just a little bit longer, but you can, I mean, what holds you back is you, not like the genetics. You put in work and you get a result, but genetics doesn't, like, maybe just kind of sets where you start off from, but not like a lot more than that. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. And typically in powerlifting, you'll get some lifters who are built for all three lifts. Ed Coan was like this, Larry Wheels was like this, where they're maybe they have like, they don't have to come too far up to squat, they don't have to come too far up when they lock out their bench, they don't have to go too far from off the floor when they deadlift. But there are a lot of elite lifters or best in the world lifters who had poor genetics. Brandon Lilly is a good example. Stan Efferding is a good example. A lot of lesser known lifters too, or not like elite, like greatest of all time, but like Tom Martin, I think, doesn't have the greatest genetics in the world. Clarence Kennedy, he's a really good lifter. I don't think he has the greatest genetics. Pete Rubish, I don't think he has the greatest genetics. There are many people who are like kind of built for like one sport or one lift, but not built for all three. And is that good genetics? No, I think that that's generally just like each person is kind of built for one lift. Like they'll either have short arms and like kind of a small frame, or maybe they have like they're short and they have short legs, or they have like long arms, long legs. You're typically built for at least one lift, kind of more than the others, and this can be seen all the way up to the elite level and the greatest of all time lifters. Some of them just are like that, you know, and a lot of different factors go into whether a lift is strong or not, like how muscular you are, what your limb lengths are, and many other things. But genetics at the end of the day don't matter that much. They're not what hold a lifter back. And what holds a lifter back is kind of like other things: mindset, consistency, virtues, and sticking to something for a long time, getting better just a tiny bit over a long time. I think that a lot of the lifters that I've coached or that I've seen personally, like either friends of mine or clients of mine, or other people I've seen, I guess, on the internet too, who are like better lifters than me. I've seen that a lot of it is if they do like too much all at once, then sometimes it like fucks them up down the road, or it kind of works against them down the road, you know. But if they kind of progress gradually, that kind of helps. A lot of different things knock people out of the game. In powerlifting, the big thing is injury, and it's like if you, and I kind of think that if you kind of push it too much, you push your limits too much, too quickly or too soon, there's a risk of injury, and you push that risk and you push that line a little more. And it's kind of like risk reward in entrepreneurship, like how much do you want to push it, how much do you want to go. And I don't think necessarily you have to push it a ton. You can toe it and go with slower progress and make the finish line, but take a couple extra years to do it or something, you know. And it's like what you want at the end of the day, because there are a lot of lifters that say like, oh, like F it, like I'm gonna just put it all on the, what do they say, put it all on the bar, or put it all on the meat, and like give it your all, and like they want to grind like crazy and set those PRs and hit those lifts, and even if it like kind of risks like really effing up their body. And there are other lifters that like are cool just hitting like the 5 pound, 10 pound small PRs and doing that consistently every couple of years in. It comes with risks, comes with rewards, but at the end of the day, the person that progresses is the person that, in my opinion, adapts to change over time. However their personality changes, however their circumstances change, however their life changes, however the world outside them changes, or training changes, or their body changes, and all the other variables, however they change. If they want to continue to get better, they want to continue to progress, then they'll find ways to do so. And that's what ultimately holds a lifter back or allows them to continue to progress. It isn't genetics, it isn't age or other factors or really anything else. Powerlifting is a really nice sport because anyone can get good at it, anyone can get better at it. It's very universal, and there's something in it for everyone. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of room for growth and self-improvement, and you develop virtues by building strength and lifting a barbell and kind of building character in that way. It's a pretty cool thing, but genetics don't really matter too much. I don't know about bodybuilding a whole lot. I feel as though in bodybuilding they maybe matter more, because bodybuilding is subjective and it's judged by judges, and you have to look a certain way, and sometimes maybe you're not like genetically built for it, and again, I don't know, maybe that's not the case. But as far as powerlifting, it is objective, and there are a lot of different factors that go into strength. There's neurological strength or muscular strength, and I don't know the terms or anything, but like there's a lot of different kinds of strength and a lot of ways to build strength, and just into all of it, there are a lot of different variables that go in, and in my opinion, genetics are a pretty small variable. As far as maybe you can do well and you can progress, but as far as how far you progress from the beginning to the end of your career, or whether you stay in it for the long run or not, genetics don't matter that much. And as far as all the people who have set like huge records or world records, a lot of them don't have good genetics and have something to prove, and they fight harder, work harder, train smarter, try to do whatever it takes to adapt to change, to kind of prove to themselves or to everyone else that they can do it, even though they don't have the best genetics or they don't have whatever else. And I think that's what it's about at the end of the day. You know, the people that succeed kind of want to succeed more than the people that don't succeed, and that's maybe the limiting factor: desire and the willingness to kind of adapt to circumstances, adapt to change, and adapt to how things change over time in your inside world and outside world. That's what matters more than genetics, is that adaptation. It's not the strongest person that survives, it's not the smartest person that survives, but it's the one that adapts best to change. So that's kind of my thoughts. I don't think genetics matter that much, and the last thing is that I really am curious to see where I'll be in 10 years or 20 years, 20 years especially. But in the moment you just take it a day at a time and kind of see where you'll be till in the not so far future, because you really never know.